Okay, time for the next game here against Ruslan Ponomariov. We have seen him before, but it's a Ukraine chess player that was very, very good. He won the FIDE World Championship knockout tournament when he was like maybe 16 or something like that, and he's like 27, 12, 33 now, but his decline in chess was when he was quite young. So when he was like, he's like 14 now, but even when he was like 30 already, his best chess years was behind him. So he's just a low 2600 player now and doesn't get to play with the big boys anymore. But still here, he's still a fine player. And I choose this game because Magnus is playing the King's Indian. Magnus, as we saw, for example, when I played him, his main opening is the Grünfeld. At this time, my Grünfeld was his main opening, and now, of course, he's doing Queen's Gambit Declined and the Slav and Nimso Indian and lots of other stuff. But I haven't seen him play King's Indian before, and Ruslan goes for the Samish variation. And Magnus, interestingly, goes over to the Benoni here. It often transposes to the modern Benoni. It's that's a fine way to play. The alternative is to some e5 stuff, but it's a little bit unusual if you don't know that structure. Maybe it's a little bit easier to play this one, which will transpose into a modern Benoni soon. After this here, I think this is probably, kind of remember this one is probably a theory here in the still. So Magnus' first mistake was Bishop d7. It's the problem for black here. It's a little bit hard to find. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to find a plan. Like you could play Bishop d7, maybe e6, Rook b8, Rook e8, but sooner or later it might be hard to find the useful moves. White just has a bit more useful moves often. And something that you have to look also for is after Bishop d7, now if white play h3, then f4 is a threat. So I guess because of that, computer prefers white playing this. And after castling, apparently something like this, and then give up one more. Okay, and try to get the rook here, and you get some. This looks quite fine for black. He don't really understand why he had to sack a pawn with b6, but I guess he's driving it back and get some threats here, and of course a check here, and maybe queen. Looks like black has some interesting play here, and I think if you play like h5, then of course going to h3 is quite logical. But let's see what happened here. And now he does b5 and sack a pawn, but it might not be a sack because takes rook here, and maybe he can get a pawn back here. So let's see what happens. But white has a4, of course, and then you have a6 and then rook b2, but it's still one pawn sacrifice, but he gets active pieces, so it's in the spirit of the opening to play actively with black. So he decided to do knight h5. The computer doesn't like that because white can play f4 then. Looked like something like this, and try to take this one. And the reason is this is like a double threat apparently, because if you defend then at least you have this pawn left here. So that might be that Magnus didn't see the queen c8 double threat here. So he did that one. Problem, of course, is that white can drive him back now. I guess if white does something random, then of course f5 might be an idea. And then if he does like this, then the knight can go here. So it's better for white to drive the knight back at once before black can play f5 and then knight here. And now we see the problem with knight h5 is that white can put his queen actively here. Of course, if black's knight was still here, then that wouldn't have been possible. And why can't he take here? Ah, I see. If he takes, then this is a fork. It's still possible to play like that because he can take this one. Computer likes this for white. Maybe bishop g5 is a threat now, or bishop h6. Black's king is actually more weak than white's now. Often black can get some kind of play on the king side, but now it's white that can attack. Also, he can also save the bishop by going here. That's not. He threatens take here, so he has to do something like that maybe. Now that knight is in danger. Yeah, so it's plus 2.2, so it's winning for white in computer play, but yeah, it's black could have fought on here. But it took here, that was worse. And he makes us exchange sack here, Magnus. He computer prefer to play like this. Yeah, it's good for black to do like that, because black's problem is that his knights are passive, but now at least he has this square for the knight. So even with best play for white, black has some play here. But it's of course better for white. Okay, so Magnus instead tries an exchange sacrifice. Let's see how that one works. Ah, he made a blunder here. Yeah, if he does that, what's black's ID? What's black's ID? And there is this, and then knight here. Let's see how that is. Let's see if white just does something random like this. Yeah, now you can do this already. Now you have to do like this now. And this is a major threat here. It's interesting. So it looks like he wants to do that to defend. I guess. Yeah, you can always like take with the bishop here. That's safer. Okay, so he can get some play like this. Yeah, still some play for black here. Now again, this is it's complicated. Okay, so I like that. Actually, that exchange sacrifice. Magnus got a lot of ideas with this knight g3 shenanigan. But of course, yeah, rook f2 doesn't look so. Looks better to do king e. He can always defend with the bishop and just take here if it's like, so he doesn't open the h file. So rook f2 looks clearly wrong. Maybe Ruslan is trusting Magnus' calculation ability, but Magnus is just fishing here for some tricks. Because now there are still some play with the knights, even if white has the bishops. Okay, an important move here, threatening 2 pawns. If this is like white's trump here, try to queen this one. If black takes this one, then it will be quite hard to see how white can win without some kind of tactics. So it's an important pawn for that reason. Yeah, computer likes this, but it looks dangerous because of the fork here, but apparently white can just move here because it's being threatened. This is quite forced apparently. Well, at least white has the pawn, so you can always like. But this king looks very. It looks bad because I'm actually already preferring black here. But this seems to be even worse. Because these knights are. They are defending each other, and there is like a saying, like if it's not good if the knights are defending each other because they are like controlling same squares, like, so it's fine for black to trade one here. So he took like this, but the computer doesn't like that. Best was this apparently. Then he can check. This looks super dangerous for white, so I understand that he didn't want to go for that, but he should have thought, like already when he played Rook F2, he should have thought that this is even more dangerous than just hiding on H1, so this is definitely even more dangerous than just hiding on H1. But this looks very bad for black also, I think. No, for white, I mean, I like black here. This looks dangerous. Okay, so he made a Magnus. It was his turn to make a blunder. Yeah, he put the queen passive. I don't get the idea. I guess that he wants to go here and take like that. But this. Okay, so there is tactics here. This one is hanging, and when white's defends, he can take here. Point is, of course, that he can win the rook. Okay, so that won a pawn here, like you. And if white goes back, yeah, he can take here and then maybe here, and he has two passers in winning position. Okay, so that was a blunder. And King D1 was also blunder. Yeah, F5 looks correct. It's of course that Magnus wants to go here. That's super obvious. So if he does that, this endgame, because white king is more open than white, it's good for, and then black, it's good for white to trade queens here. Yeah, so this is, it's a pawn down, but good drawing chances here with the rook, and not so many pawns left. And some of black pawns are quite weak, so definitely correct to try to save this endgame. But he went here, and now like this pawn is lost. Black can take it whenever he pleases. But it's good good practice to get the king a little bit safer first, and also play around here in waiting for white's time trouble. It's also good practice. This was a threat, so he had to trade queens here, but now black is 2 pawns up, so, and white would like to get active with the rook and start collecting some pawns, but because of the pin, it's winning for black now basically. Because this, okay, so this is very important. Yeah. White gets doubled pawn here. Let's see how Magnus did it. Yeah, F3 is coming. And white king cannot do anything. It will be stuck on D1, and black's king can just collect all the white's pawns. So, yeah, interesting game actually. I love King's Indian and Modern Banani, but not many players play those. But it's fun to see at 2800 play those openings. Okay, see you next.